All right, my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I wanted to kind of talk about the longevity of the 9070 XT and if this thing is actually future-proof, and give you some tips on how you could actually make this GPU a lot more future-proof than I think we've ever had the ability to do with any GPU before. So guys, let's go ahead and get started with this. This is the 9070 XT from AMD. This here is actually the Aorus from Gigabyte. Mine's signed by Lisa Su. This is a very cool GPU, very quiet. Well, not necessarily quiet. This one here had a, once you set the fan to about 70%, it was absolutely quiet, stayed very cool. Incredible GPU. It's got some nice RGB on there. The Radeon lights up, the Aorus lights up. This was a pretty cool GPU. I actually have the 9070 XT, the XFX Magnetic Air. That's my favorite one. Like that one there, just I love that GPU. I think it's absolutely incredible. But I figured, you know, I got this one so I can do like a little bit of, so I can show you, so I could be like all the other really cool GPU guys and have a GPU sitting on the table or in my patty cake or something while we talk about this. But now I want to get a little bit more serious because I've actually had the opportunity to have this for a couple of months now and play a lot of games on this. I've actually tested a lot of games. If you look in the playlist for the 9070 XT, there's almost 100 videos in there. I haven't done nowhere near as many for the 5070 Ti. That's just because I'm an AMD fanboy and I like using the AMD, so I don't ever think about turning on the 5070 Ti. But to be completely honest with you, 9070 XT, is this actually a future-proof card? Well, a lot of that is going to depend on your gaming style and what types of games that you are wanting to play. Now, today, I was basically sim racing all day. And I noticed this because I was using my 3440 by 1440p monitor, which is an ultra wide. So I was able to get, man, I'm pushing, like, just running them at native resolution. I was running a lot of these games at like 200 frames a second today, making that overkill, absolutely freaking overkill for this GPU for a 9070 XT. In terms of other games, playing them on a 4K display, if you're playing them at 4K, it's definitely not going to be as future-proof at 4K. That I can already tell you, because you really do have to utilize upscaling, especially with a lot of the newer games. If you've got like Unreal Engine 5 or even just the new Assassin's Creed Shadows, that game runs at about 40 frames a second at native resolution, give or take. You're 35 to 45 frames a second at 4K. But yes, you can utilize upscaling, frame generation, all of those other things. It does actually have FSR4 on that game, so you do get really good performance and really good visual quality using that with FSR4 performance mode. So everything I've thrown at this GPU has been able to give me a playable experience even at 4K. So right now, the longevityness of this GPU. So if you're playing at 4K, you can expect anywhere natively on some of the older games, you're definitely in the 90s to 100 frames a second native, like at Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something. And yes, I do use a lot of those older games because they still look good. You know, like if you're playing something like Red Dead Redemption 2, you know, that's just a generation old in terms of, you know, console generations. You're still able to get 4K native 4K at, you know, 80, 90 frames a second as well with that one. So when you look at that and then you contrast that with what the new games are doing, yeah, you are using upscaling for these newer games, but with the inclusion of FSR4, and that is a massive thing, and the same goes for the 5070 Ti. Just having the ability to use something like FSR4 or DLSS4, that's going to give you more than sufficient image quality to play at 4K. Now, when I look back at the 7900 XTX, that GPU was 100% able to give me a 4K experience as well, even with freaking even you know, having to use like upscaling on that GPU as well, and that GPU had way more shader cores. It had 24 gigs of VRAM, and I was still finding some games, some newer games like Spider-Man 2. I was still needing to utilize upscaling just to get 4K when using like the ray tracing and all of that other stuff. You are still finding reasons just with that generation of top end GPU to have to use upscaling. Same goes for 4080 Super, and obviously to some extent the 5090 is probably, there's games out there that when you turn on everything, you're not hitting native 4K. So you have to like really think about that. And especially all of you guys that are coming to PC that are newer, that are, you know, just barely, you know, starting out on the PC. You're wanting to like get into the so I just had to sorry that I had to cut the video, but I was cooking a steak and I totally forgot to put a timer on, so I had to run in there and flip it real quick. But I want to get back to this thing where we're talking about like the newcomers coming to the PC space. You know, you're leaving your console, you're coming over. You're looking at that experience. You know, a lot of people this generation with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are definitely feeling that hit to quality. Whereas if you really think about it, if we would have just had an iteration on consoles and we just went from 30 frames a second to 30 frames a second, the hit is really not as massive as a lot of people think. You are getting that higher quality, overall image quality with these newer consoles. But if you want the 60 frames a second, if you want the 120 frames or more, then your next option really is PC. And so if you're coming to PC and you're just wanting that peace of mind, and that's pretty much what my videos try to do, is to just try to give you that peace of mind. So we have to look at this from square one, okay? Longevity. Can the 9070 XT provide enough longevity to give you a good experience well into the future? Like, how future-proof is the 9070 XT, and should you worry about getting something better? So like I said, guys, I've been here since I've had this for the last couple of months. I've played a lot of games on this. I've played a lot of new games. I do buy and play new games like Expedition 33, the new Oblivion, obviously playing around with Assassin's Creed Shadows. We'll be doing Doom Dark Ages here pretty soon. The new MotoGP 25 is running really, really good. Most of, like I said, a lot of the sim racing games, like I'm able to get a 4K experience rather easy with this GPU with plenty of performance to spare, being able to lock games at 60 frames a second and play them with the absolute beautiful inclusion of FSR4. Absolutely incredible. Well, here's the kicker, guys. Here's the kicker with these new GPUs like the 9070 XT or the 5070 Ti. We do also have at our fingertips frame generation technology that, if you're coming from a console, you're probably going to be okay with this. To be completely honest with you, it is going to, you're going to get that ultra smoothness of 60, 80, 120, whatever. Like, you're going to get that smoothness. And because we're used to using a controller, we're still going to be able, like, these GPUs are crazy, man. These GPUs are crazy. Like 9070 XT, you're going to be able to push this card a lot farther than I think a lot of people think. And if we just take a look at last generation consoles, okay, and this generation, okay, like we're halfway through the new console generation, and we just barely, I mean, we're still technically getting cross-generation games from that last generation. Now, is what's going on is a lot of people are going to be wanting to hold on to their PS5s and their Xbox Series X and their PS5 Pros a lot longer into the next generation than I think they wanted to hold on to PS4 and Xbox Series or Xbox One X, PlayStation 4 Pro. I think that we're going to have a little bit longer span through the next generation of consoles where people are still trying to hold on to that older hardware. And I think that's going to play into the favor of something like the 9070 XT, because we're about 2 years out now from another generation of GPUs, as well as another, you know, give or take, maybe we get new consoles within the next couple of years. So that gives us around, I would say 5 to 6 years, maybe even a little more, that we're still getting cross-generation games that are still going to take advantage of the older generation of hardware. So I do kind of think that right now, if you were to buy 9070 XT or 5070 Ti for that matter, they're both pretty much damn near identical. They both are very similar. I would recommend going the NVIDIA or the AMD route this generation, just because the drivers and the performance overall, stuff like that with the NVIDIA side. I think you're in a better position to go AMD this generation, just because they really are, you know, it really is a good generation for AMD. Really good generation for the RDNA 4 GPU. So in terms of what I'm saying is, we're gonna have a good 5 or 6 years from now till like the new generation, you know, maybe even 4 years, 5 years into next generation, that we're still going to be getting cross-generation games. So therefore, they're still going to be necessarily tied to that 16 gigabytes, but I do see the next consoles coming out with 24 gigs. So that's going to put us in a little bit of an awkward situation that, you know, depending on how things turn out, you'll still be able to play a lot of those games. Even if they do require a bit more VRAM, you're still going to be able to play a lot of this stuff on, you know, lower resolutions and stuff like that. Now, 4K is not the end all be all. Okay, I do have 4K. I've got 3440 by 1440p. I've got native 1440p, and I've got 1080p all at my fingertips. And yes, I do alternate between these resolutions specifically so that I can keep myself grounded when it comes to gaming. Now, when I look at 4K and what the 9070 XT can do, 4K, absolutely incredible. The image quality looks fabulous with FSR4. The overall performance that I get out of a lot of these newer games, more than acceptable. And then when I also look at this at 1440p, now, here's the thing, and this is where we're going to get to the point where I'm going to tell you guys, this is how to be smart with your money, okay? This monitor right here, this 4K monitor, is about $1,000. You can usually get it on sale for $1,000. Sometimes it's $1,200, whatever. Either way, I still think it's worth it. This monitor is probably the most important upgrade that you're going to make in a very long time, because this monitor has dual use monitor, and there's other monitors. There's actually cheaper ones too. I think it was Asus or MSI that actually has a cheaper one, and that's the thing. Like, I love LG. I think and the matte screens on these are absolutely perfect for my needs. That's why I bought them. That's why I was like, yeah, I'm just going to do that. But there are other options. There's Asus, there's MSI, there's other dual monitors out there that will do dual resolution at different rates. So 4K 240 hertz, 1080p 480 hertz. Incredible model, incredible freaking monitor. So when I get to a point where it's like, okay, this game is really heavy on 4K and it's hard to play this, you know, most of those games, like these Unreal Engine 5 games or these really high fidelity games, they still look pretty damn good at 1080p. And the fact that you're getting an OLED monitor means you still get to utilize HDR even in the 1080p, which in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, HDR has always been a bigger upgrade to visual quality than resolution. Resolution's fine, it just gives you that cleaner, crisper image. But at the same time, HDR can really make that image pop and stand out even more. And I mean, even with the NVIDIA 5070 Ti, which has RTX HDR, even that is an incredible feature for playing older games and being able to deliver HDR on those. That's a feature that I would love to see AMD try to bring to the AMD atmosphere, because that is pretty cool. I would like to see them copy that, copy it, just like NVIDIA is trying to copy the app. So yeah, In terms of like doing that, or get yourself, you know, a lower resolution monitor like 1440p. This is easily going to do 1440p for 6 years, easy. But being able to do 4K with the addition of FSR4, even FSR3 is good at 4K, whatever, you know? You just want that to look good on a 4K screen and still give you some of that clarity. That's the whole thing. But yeah, 9070 XT absolutely is a good card for longevity and for future proof, and I think it's an incredible one. I really do. I really do think that the future proofness of the 9070 XT and the 5070 Ti pretty dang good, especially with frame generation. You know, you get frame generation on there, you get a game, you're playing, you got 60 plus frames a second, you decide to turn on frame generation or fluid motion frames, boom, you've got a much smoother experience right out of the gate. There's ways that you can lock that down and really make it work and deliver for you. So yeah, guys, when it comes to the 9070 XT, I actually feel pretty dang optimistic about these GPUs. And this is, man, I bought a 3080, I bought a 7900 XT, I bought an XTX, I've spent a lot of money, I bought a 4080 Super, and at this point, like seeing how these GPUs across 3 generations haven't really gained a significant uptick over the last ones, this is gonna do very well long term. I think you're gonna be solid with it. You're gonna be just fine. It definitely has the ability to last a long time. I think the future proofness of this is going to be pretty good. You know, like I said, about 5-6 years, we're going to see a lot of cross-gen games, and the current consoles are already pretty decent at delivering, you know, good fidelity looking visuals, high fidelity visuals. So yeah, guys, my honest opinion, 9070 XT is definitely a future-proof GPU for at least the next 6 years. 6 years. I guarantee you could probably get about 6 years of this. By the time you get to that 6 years, you might be like, oh boy, I'm needing to upscale more, you know, than I normally would. And that's fine. Even still then, you're probably still gonna get a playable experience. So yeah, 6 years, possibly 10, definitely has enough VRAM. It's 16 gigs of VRAM. I mean, I think that's going to be good. I think you'll at least be able to maybe turn down some settings. Maybe you won't be able to have ray tracing the whole time, but you will at least be able to play the games. And I do kind of feel like with the uptick of ray tracing and stuff like that, I still believe that this GPU is going to do fairly well, even if it is having to play at 1080p resolution or even 1440p. Those are not bad things, my friends. Those, having the ability to buy something like this monitor, and I can't stress this enough, to be able to have a dual mode monitor that will do 4K or 1080p, look, from gamer to gamer, you're in your own house, you're playing with your own stuff. If you want to play at 1080p, play at 1080p. Nobody's stopping you. You're the one that's going to have to decide if 1080p is good enough for you. Okay, nobody else is going to be able to do that. Don't let anybody else influence your decision one way or another. You buy something like this, you have the ability, you have the option, just like I did when I bought it. But I'd previously bought a 1080p monitor for the ROG Ally to check that out on 1080p and see how that fared. And I was quite blown away and quite satisfied that I was like, yeah, I need to buy that monitor. I need to own that. That is going to deliver. That is going to deliver the freaking what's it called? That is going to deliver the experience of being able to have this GPU last a long time. Like that alone is going to give this the longevity and the future proofing that it needs, and that's incredible. It's like a double whammy, guys. Like you don't even know. Dual mode monitor, and 9070 XT. Absolutely incredible. Like you're set for a while. So if you like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.